Good morning friends. Today we are going to discuss about the activated partial thromboplastin time. In the previous video we have discussed about the prothrombin time. So this activated partial thromboplastin time is also one of the important investigation to be used in the hematological labs, and it has a lot of clinical importance. So myself Dr. S.K. Sutkar, Department of Pathology. So before going to the activated partial thromboplastin time, we should know about the hemostasis. As we have discussed this is a mechanism which leads to the cessation of the bleeding from the injured blood vessels. So it involves basically multiple steps, and after these steps there is a formation of a platelet plug. And once this platelet plug is formed, over this platelet plug there is activation of the coagulation system, and this leads to the formation of permanent clotting or a permanent platelet plug. And here we can see there is a two type of mechanism: primary hemostasis and secondary hemostasis. In the primary hemostasis, usually the platelets they basically interact with the von Willebrand factor, which is present on the subendothelial surface of the injured blood vessels. So the interaction between these two platelets and von Willebrand factor result in activation of this platelet, and these platelet undergo the adhesion, platelet adhesion, and then they undergo the platelet release reaction, and after release reaction these platelet undergo the platelet aggregation using different type of receptors. So these all together leads to the formation of a temporary platelet plug, and this is called as primary hemostasis. On the other hand, the secondary hemostasis is basically there is a activation of clotting factors over the surface of these platelets, and both the mechanism, intrinsic as well as the extrinsic mechanism, they are activated by this mechanism. There is a conversion of coagulation, the coagulation factors which are inactivated, they are converted into the activated form, and there is a formation of thrombin, and at last this thrombin basically cleaves the fibrinogen into fibrin. So this is the whole process basically seen in the clotting or coagulation. So if we go through the secondary hemostasis, here we can see there are multiple steps they are involved in the secondary hemostasis. The first step is the release of the tissue factors from the injured subendothelial surface, and once these tissue factor they will release, they will trigger the extrinsic coagulation pathway, and this finally result in the conversion of the fibrinogen into fibrin. At the same time there is also activation of these platelets at the injured site, and we can see in the platelet plug lot of platelets they are deposited, and they were activated. So they will release the different type of intrinsic factors which are activated by these platelets, and the intrinsic mechanism is basically triggered, and again this intrinsic mechanism is also lead to the formation of this clot. So here the involvement of these factors are different from the extrinsic factors. In this intrinsic mechanism, basically the factor 12 is a most important factor, which is also called as Hagman factor, which plays a very important role. And so here you can see that there is a formation of permanent platelet plug with the deposition of fibrin strands within the platelets, and this meshwork is basically permanently seal the injured site. And whenever there is a defect in this secondary hemostasis, we can see the patient will have the deep tissue bleeding, and whenever there is a deep tissue bleeding, we can suspect that there might be some defect in the secondary hemostasis or coagulation factor deficiencies. So we can do the following test in the lab, that is clotting time, prothrombin time, and activated partial thromboplastin time. So today we are going to discuss this activated thromboplastin time. In the previous videos we have discussed about the clotting time as well as prothrombin time. So if we go through this is an overview of coagulation cascades, and in this the intrinsic pathway is basically activated by the trauma inside the vascular system, and this this intrinsic pathway is activated by the platelets or exposed endothelial cells, injured endothelial, or chemicals, or some type of exposure of subendothelial surface, that is collagen, and this all together leads to the intrinsic pathway activation. And here we can see in the intrinsic pathway the factor 12, factor 11, factor 9 and factor 8 they participate, and these factors deficiency can be assessed by using activated partial thromboplastin time. On the other hand, we can see the extrinsic pathway as well, in which there is a release of tissue factor, and this tissue factor along with the factor 7 it activate the common pathway is especially the factor 10, and this can be assessed by using prothrombin time. So finally there is a formation of fibrin or clot. So we go through the contact factor. Here we can see the contact system. It is also called as plasma kallikrein system, and it consists of three serine proteases which are very important in this contact system. These are the coagulation factor 12, coagulation factor 11, and plasma prekallikrein and high molecular weight kinogens. So these all together are the part of contact system. So whenever they come in contact with the negatively charged surface, these factors will basically they activate, and there is a activation of intrinsic mechanism or intrinsic pathway of the coagulation. So here you can see in the intrinsic pathway the activation of factor 12 lead to the activation of factor 11, factor 9 and factor 8, and all these lead to the activation of this factor 10 and 5, and this factor 10 and 5 basically activate basically convert the prothrombin into thrombin, and here there is a conversion of soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin monomers, and these monomers they are again cross linked by the factor 13, and they will form a fibrin clot. So this is the basic mechanism basically. If we go through the APTT or activated partial thromboplastin time, so it is the time taken by the cytated plasma to clot with the activation of the contact factor and without the addition of the tissue thromboplastin. So this time is basically recorded, or the cytated plasma which basically takes the time to clot by the activation of contact factor. It is used to rule out the deficiency of the factor 8, factor 9, factor 11 and factor 12. So the deficiency of intrinsic pathways factors can be ruled out by this APTT. Apart from this, we can also detect the deficiency of factor 5, factor 10, factor 2 and factor 1, which are the common pathways, and the normal APTT is around 30 to 40 seconds, and the partial thromboplastin reagent basically comprise of phospholipids, but there is no tissue factor, that's why it is called as partial thromboplastin reagent, and this basically facilitate the reaction involving the vitamin K dependent coagulation factors of both pathway except for the factor 7. So this is very important that the factors which are related to the intrinsic pathway they were activated. If we go through the procedures, initially the first step is to pre-warm the calcium chloride reagent at 37 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes in incubator, and after that we will basically pipette 100 microliter of platelet poor plasma in a test tube. So this platelet poor plasma is basically prepared by taking the blood in the 1.8 ml of blood in sodium citrate 200 microliter, and this ratio is around 9:1. So the blood which is taken for this test is in sodium citrate solution, which is we used to take around 200 microliter, and blood around 1.8 ml, and this blood is then centrifuged for 3000 rpm for 15 minutes, and we can take out the platelet poor plasma from there, and this plasma platelet poor plasma is taken for this test. So we will pipette out 100 microliter of PP platelet poor plasma in test tube, and to this we will add 100 microliter of partial thromboplastin reagent and incubate for 3 minutes. And to this at last we will add calcium chloride, and we usually the calcium chloride is around 100 microliter is added, and we as soon as we add this calcium chloride in the solution, we start the stopwatch and we will record the clotting time. So in the right side we can see the tube which contain the platelet poor plasma along with the activator or partial thromboplastin, which composed basically the activator and the phospholipids, but there is no tissue factor. So, and this was incubated, and again we will add the calcium chloride in this, and we will record the time. So this is the activated partial thromboplastin time. The normal time is around 30 to 40 seconds. So normal APTT is around 30 to 40 seconds, and the high APTT is basically seen in the liver diseases, kidney diseases, and anticoagulant therapy. In the liver disease, basically there is whenever there is a failure of liver due to any cause, either cirrhosis or hepatitis or some other diseases, which leads to the dysfunctioning of the liver, or there is a decreased liver function. So that leads to the deficiency of coagulation factors in the blood, and in this condition also there is an increase in the activated partial thromboplastin time. Apart from this, in the kidney disease, especially in case of nephrotic syndrome, you will see a lot of protein is leaks out from the in the urine, and this is called a massive proteinuria, and in this also a lot of coagulation factors, they are also leaked out, and this result in the deficiency of these factors, and this can be assessed by APTT as well. So activated partial thromboplastin time is also increased in this condition. And third is the anticoagulant therapy. So usually the warfarin is used for the anticoagulant therapy, and this is also result in the deficiency of basically the coagulation factors. I hope this video will be useful for you. Thank you very much for watching this.